they've created some pretty cool little venues down through there, and we've gone down there and played, and so that's where Don grew up. And then I spent most of my summers at my grandparents, my mother's family, the hillbilly grandparents, in the Texas Panhandle, in a little bitty town called Wellington, Texas, which is way up in the corner of the Panhandle. And it was a very small, safe, old-fashioned town in a dry county, in Collinsworth County. So we had to drive to Oklahoma just to get beer. That's desperation right there. Yeah, and crap beer at that. So yeah. Anyway, in this little town, it was not unlike in some ways the town Don grew up in. We had a lot of common ground in this song. The town that my grandmother lived in, where I spent summers and most of our vacations, it was 2 hours from Amarillo, and if you live in Texas, 2 hours is nothing. It's like a grocery store run. So we'd go almost every weekend and go Thursday or Friday, and come back maybe Sunday night, maybe Monday morning. But the town was so safe and so small and such a nurturing environment that I was allowed to walk downtown anywhere I wanted when I was 7 years old. Because downtown was only 2 blocks away from my grandmother's big old white wooden house, and it was a classic small town movie set downtown. There was a courthouse in the middle, and there was a drugstore on each side of the square. I don't know how they supported it. Carson's, Parsons, Whitman's, and Rexall. The chain came in and ruined life with their big orange and blue neon sign. But all 4 of these drugstores managed to survive and thrive, actually, for years when I was a little kid. One of them specialized in great lunches. One of them was the one that got most of the prescriptions from the doctors. One was the one that had the best soda fountain, best malts and shakes and sundaes and stuff. The other one had the best, they had all the magazines. So everybody had their niche, you know. But this walking around this little town when I was a little kid, I was the oldest child. I was the prince of the world. My views have changed remarkably little over the years. I had little sisters, which of course disavowed me on that notion quickly, because the next youngest one always gets all the attention, and if they're really pretty, precocious girls, it's, in a way it was a blessing, because finally my mother and all of her sisters left me alone to take care of. They all had little girls about the same time, so then I got to just wander. It was fantastic. So I wandered all over this little town, all over Collinsworth County, actually. And the worst I got in some scrapes, but wherever I'd go, it seemed pretty safe, because somebody would call out. My grandfather was well known and feared sort of in the area, and loved, but feared in the area. His name was James Griffith Finley Jr., and everyone called him Mr. Griff for reasons that still are not clear to me. But I could walk around this little town, and wherever I'd pop up, where I wasn't supposed to be, like an old mine or the ice house, which hadn't been used in 30 years or something, somebody would call out, "Now, David, does Mr. Griff know you're here?" And I had to be sure that they did. Or they'd say, "David, are you where you're supposed to be?" That was my favorite. "Are you where you're supposed to be?" Rarely was where I was supposed to be. But pretty safe little town anyway. I never got hurt worse than... Well, I slid down the chute once at the ice house and sort of tore myself open on something. And so did my cousin. So we all had to go get tetanus shots, which was terrifying because we cut ourselves on these rusty nails. Anyway, small towns in Texas, small towns anywhere, actually. I think it's the same. My father's family is in Michigan, and they're the other side of the world. They're all like inventors and doctors and opera singers and sort of highfalutin folk. But a couple of them have moved further out north into the country, into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which up UP, they call them Yoopers. It's kind of like being a Cajun. You're sort of in your own, they're their own thing up there, the Yoopers. So the small towns up there I know a little bit too, and this is probably the distillation of all of that. When the warm September sun down in Texas has sucked the streams bone dry and turned the roads to dust, in the sleepy little towns down in Texas, the shades are all pulled down, the streets are all rolled up, and the only sound that breaks the silence are the trucks passing by. And late at night on the front porch swings you can hear a mournful cry. A lonesome whippoorwill cries to the stars above. He was calling out to his lady love. She's been gone so long. I was just talking to the moon, hoping someday soon that I'd be over the memory of you. It's too hard to hold it. When the wind across the plains is all that now remains, but the nights shake loose the names, and they never quite go back the way they came. So goodbye, rodeo. It's a long, funny way for a man to go. It never changed.